Mr. President, I wanted to ask you about your foreign policy. So obviously, you're the first president in my lifetime, didn't launch any major wars, weren't engaged in any major wars around the world during your entire term. But legacy media have, of course, suggested that you're a tool of the Russians. Kamala said yesterday that Vladimir Putin would have taken Kyiv if you were president. And then some people, even on our side, seem to suggest that you're some sort of total isolationist, want to slash the military. You and Senator Vance have said that your foreign policy is peace through strength. Can you describe what your second-term foreign policy will look like?
Yeah, number one, he wouldn't have taken Kyiv because you wouldn't have had a war, and you would have had the country just the way it is. I watched her interview, and it was a terrible interview, and just a terrible, terrible interview that this person can be leading. She's a very low intelligence person, and that she could be leading this country, it's just ridiculous. She's never going to lead the country. Now, other people around her, and they're very bad people, and they're not of our persuasion. They're fascists and Marxists and lots of other things. I can say communists because a lot of people don't understand a Marxist. You know, her father's a Marxist, and this is what it is. And our policy is very simple: peace through strength. We had no wars, and I'm not an isolationist. I helped a lot of countries. I kept countries out of war. We had two countries, smaller countries. I can explain it later, and I can explain who they are when we're together. But they were fighting, and they've been fighting for 1,000 years, and they go back and forth, and they were going to fight again and kill tens of thousands of people. And I said, look, you do that, there's going to be no trade. There's going to be tariffs put on your head. There'll be no trade, and that's for both of them, et cetera, et cetera. And 2 days later, they call me up that they've made peace. I do these things. Nobody ever even heard of it, but I had no wars. Think of it. And I'm talking about in the world. The world was at peace. I did the Abraham Accords, which should have been filled in. I would have had every one of the slots filled in. Biden got none. We had the 4 countries and 4 very good ones and 4 tough ones. And the rest was just a fill-in job. It would have taken place. We would have total peace. And I made the statement because, as you know, Iran was broke. We had no terrorism. We had no attacks. We had no Hamas problems, no Hezbollah problems. We had nothing because Iran didn't have the money to give to them, because I put sanctions on and I dealt directly. China, I said, if you want to buy oil from Iran, that's fine. You can go do it. But if you do that, you're not doing any business with the U.S. You can take your stuff out of here, and we're going to put sanctions on anything that gets through. We're going to put tariffs and everything else, every form of tax. And there are other taxes on anything you do. They took a total pass. They were by far the biggest customer, plus other countries.
October 7th, yesterday, marked the 1-year anniversary of the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. 1,200 Israelis were murdered. Over 250 were taken hostage. The war in Israel continues to rage on today. Earlier this month, of course, Iran launched a massive barrage of nearly 200 ballistic missiles at the Holy Land. This isn't just another conflict in the Middle East. Israel and its people are facing attacks from enemies on all sides who want to wipe it out. But there is hope. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground providing food, shelter, and safety to those in need during this crisis. Since the war started, thousands of reservists, everyday Israeli citizens, have left their families to serve their country. Soldiers have been injured. Their families need our support. Your gift of $45 today helps the fellowship provide food and other necessities to these families to help them survive. Here's what I need you to do right now. Go to benforthefellowship.org. That's benforthefellowship.org to make a gift today. In the face of these many threats, the fellowship's ongoing work providing security to Israelis has never been more important. Remember, that's benforthefellowship.org. God bless and thank you. benforthefellowship.org.
Iran had no money. Iran was ready to make a deal. When that horrible, disgusting election took place, Biden should have made a deal. They could have made a deal. Iran was in a position. Instead, he gave them billions and billions of dollars. He took off the sanctions that I had. He took off everything. China started buying more oil than they ever bought before. And today, Iran has $300 billion. What he even did is they had a number of kidnappings, because that's what they were. He paid $6 billion. $6 billion to him. He paid $11 billion for electricity for Iraq that went to Iran. They have so much money now. The man is a fool. He's a stupid fool. We were in a position we could have had. And you know what I was asking for, Ben? One very simple thing. I don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. Everything else, I want him to have a great life. I want him to be rich. But I just didn't want him to have a nuclear weapon. I would have been able to do that very easily. But when the Kamala and these people say about Kiev, and people call it Kiev and they call it Kiev. I've always called it Kiev. And it depends on what part of the world you come from is what I finally figured out. But when she mentions that, she's wrong for a different reason. Russia and Putin never would have attacked Ukraine ever when I was there. And I talked about it, and it was the apple of his eye. I got along with him very well, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. A lot of people think that's a bad thing. No, that's a great thing. But he never would have attacked under any circumstances. Number one, the oil prices were much lower when I was president, so he didn't have the money to attack. At $40 a barrel, he couldn't attack. At $80, $90, and $100 a barrel, he made a lot of money. So, but it's not even that reason. That was a real reason, but it's not that reason. The reason he wouldn't have attacked was because of me. There is zero chance that he would have attacked. Ukraine today had the right thing happened in the election, and it did not. If the right thing happened, Ukraine today would be fully intact, the cities wouldn't be bombed, and you would have had 2 million or 3 million more people living right now a very nice life. It is so sad to see. And then I have to listen to these people say that, Trump, like they say, Trump's soft on Russia. I'm the one that exposed the Russian pipeline, Nord Stream 2, and I terminated it. It was dead. The biggest deal they've ever done, I terminated it. Europe to Germany and all over Europe, the biggest deal they've ever done, I terminated it. And by that, I was rough with the nations. I said, anybody buys oil, you're not going to have U.S. protection. Anybody buys oil, you get no U.S. They terminated the deal. It was dead. It was done. And then this very dumb person gets into office, extraordinarily dumb person, with her. And what's the first thing he did? Kills the Keystone Pipeline and approves the Russian pipeline.
Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.